want to roll by an airline situation, and it's not the Southwest mess. And yeah, oh, did you see the latest? Apparently, Southwest, for people that got totally hosed over by Southwest during the holiday travel debacle, Southwest offering like 25,000 frequent flyer miles. But this story has nothing to do with Southwest. This is a Delta story, and I like Delta. Delta is my primary airline of choice. I fly Delta the most, then probably JetBlue, United, Southwest, as far as the airlines that I fly most. But I want you to listen to this Delta story and tell me kind of like, what would you do? I'm John Quiones. What would you do? Delta pissed off a family. And again, I like Delta. That's my first choice. I have the most frequent flyer miles, the most status with Delta. I get upgraded the most. So listen to this. A family is claiming that Delta Airlines offered them $24,000 in vouchers to give up their seats on an overbooked flight. Now, remember, over the last, year, sometime last year, remember we had a couple of stories about some of the offers for people getting bumped off flights or people being asked to give up seats, that there were some crazy numbers where people were being offered $5,000, $10,000. Anyway, over the holidays, David Reeves of Nashville, Tennessee, said that he and his wife and daughter, they were flying from Oakland to Salt Lake City. This was on Christmas after they were visiting San Francisco, when the flight crew offered them $8,000 each for their 3 tickets because the flight was overbooked. So this guy Reeves, David Reeves, jumps up and says, I'll take it.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
$8,000 compensation per ticket. So family of 3 times $8,000 is $24,000.
Or a real vacation.
And wow, but guess what? They never got it.
What?
All right, listen to what happened, and we need to kind of evaluate this and see what you think. Turns out they didn't get it because ultimately the co-pilot, the first officer, didn't show up and the flight was canceled. So they already committed to his $24,000, but then the first officer didn't show up, so the flight never left. So then Delta's like, nope, you weren't going anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, that's horrible.
So what's the ruling on that?
Well, they don't get the tickets. You just said it.
Well, they're not, but is that the right thing? If they already committed, or do you think the whole thing is erased and scrubbed because the flight ultimately did not go?
That's interesting.
They never got their cash windfall because the flight was canceled because the first officer, the FO, did not show up.
You know, for a couple of minutes, they were just partying and loving it. Woo!
Oh, man, like Mega Millions, which I don't think anyone won Mega Millions last night.
It's almost $1 billion again, right? It's like 900 and something.
Hey, bring up the Mega Millions site. We'll talk about that in a second. I bought my tickets in the Chicago airport.
See, I do that
on
too.
Sunday.
Well, then it's expired by now, right?
What?
When does Mega Millions draw on? No, it's Powerball that draws on Monday.
No, it was Tuesday. What are you saying expired? What are you saying?
Which one's the big money?
Mega Millions was up to $750 million for last night's drawing, Tuesday night.
All right, so your Chicago tickets are obviously not the winners.
No, but you're like they expired. What do you mean they expired?
Because the drawing already happened.
Right, the drawing happened. I didn't have a winning ticket,
so
obviously.
The tickets expired.
But I haven't checked to see if I had any subsequent prizes, any lesser prizes, for matching a couple of numbers or the Mega Millions Mega Ball, whatever they call the damn thing. But so let me just finish up with this family. So what do you think? Should Delta, if Delta already committed to them, but the flight was canceled, what do you think?
Wow.
Hold on, I'm telling, or I'm being told, Andrew's saying that we got a Delta employee on the phone. Chris, hey Chris, you're on the MJ Morning Show. Hey,
called in before. I work in LaGuardia at Delta, and so we've dealt with a similar situation.
Yeah.
Several years ago, folks go into Nantucket. Those people that fly to Nantucket are very, very wealthy, so they do not need money to get off the plane.
Why the hell aren't they flying a little private plane to Nantucket then?
Because it's somewhat cheaper to fly commercial.
It is.
And it's also a hop and a skip to go from New York to Nantucket. It takes a second.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I was working the flight, and my supervisor had to come, and they offered $10,000 each for two people to get off, and almost nobody was taking it until finally two people begrudgingly took $10,000 each for a hotel stay.
Yeah.
A voucher, which the voucher is not just a gift card for the airline. It's also American Express. It could be for Blooming. It could be like basically it's cash. What we're giving you essentially. Yep. And so they took the $10,000 each, so $20,000 plus a hotel stay, and then they were also local, so they stayed in a hotel near the airport, and then they had a taxi take them back the next day.
That's incredible, and they did walk away with $20,000 in cash, essentially.
They did, because nobody was budging on. Like they, at one point, was up to $5,000, and nobody was moving. And that was kind of like a big, because I'd never seen that.
Well, listen, I've always heard that if they're offering travel vouchers, and typically it was like a $500 travel voucher, or you get a round trip somewhere, or whatever the story was, is you always have, or it's been my experience that a lot of times when they do overbook a flight and they're trying to find volunteers to get off the flight and get some compensation, I've always been told don't jump on it immediately, because the offer goes up, and a lot of times you'll see people race to the counter at the gate. Oh, I'll do it. It's like, you dummy, just sit back and wait, because the offer's going to go up. It's going to double. It's going to triple. But, ultimately you have folks that will jump immediately instead of waiting for the prize round to go higher.
Well, so one more thing. So with Delta, at least, they will allow you to go up and take the initial offer, but whatever the final offer is what you'll get. So if you go in and take the $200 and it ends up being $1,000, you'll get the $1,000.
Ah, gotcha. All right, so next time I'm in LaGuardia and I'm flying Delta, there's a chance you might be working my gate?
Very well could be. I used to work on the tarmac, and now I'm at the gate, and now I'm seasonal.
All right.
You still get buddy passes if you're seasonal?
So actually, one more thing.
Yeah.
Is that, I know people that are airline workers, unnamed, that they can see like how the loads are doing, like as far as it's oversold and whatnot. So if they see a flight is going to be oversold, they will buy a confirmed ticket from Delta.com or Kayak or one of those and sit at the airport until it's announced that it's oversold, and then they'll cash out.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I've heard of that before. You buy a ticket and it's refundable, and you cancel it like a couple minutes before the flight takes off, and you get your money back, and there's no investment. But if you can sell the ticket, you kind of score.
What are you talking about? He's talking about the. What are you?
I've heard, maybe it's something different. I've heard of people.
You have no idea what you're talking. He's saying that people are buying the tickets because they have internal information that the load factor on the flight is oversold. They buy a ticket,
right,
and they're gambling that they're going to be able to take the cash prize of being bought out.
But you have to show up to the airport to claim it.
Yeah, but what were you saying?
It's essentially the same thing.
No, you weren't. No one was not. You were
eloquent.
not saying essentially the same thing.
However, there is a small chance, though, that you could end up in Fort Lauderdale. You don't want to go to Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, thanks for the call, man. I appreciate it.
You bet. Bye.
All right. Hold on. We got another Delta employee. We got tons of Delta folks calling in. Kathy's in Tampa. Hey, Kathy, you're on the MJ Morning Show.
Good morning.
All right, so Kathy, we're talking about this story. A family was offered $24,000 because of an oversold Delta flight, and they took it. Husband, wife, and daughter, $8,000 a seat, $24,000, and they had agreed to it. And then the flight was canceled because the first officer didn't show up. And the family's like, "Hey, listen, you made the deal. We want our money." And Delta's like,
Right.
"Hey, listen, the flight didn't take off."
Right, because usually what happens is compensation is not worked until the flight's departed. And if the flight doesn't depart, they don't work the compensation. And they also wait to give the compensation to be sure that they actually need the volunteers. Because there are occasions when people don't make the flight still, even though they checked in.
Gotcha. What do you do for Delta?
I actually work in I actually work in res but I work. I take the calls from airport support also.
Gotcha.
So when they need help with this stuff, but these things, and I see them on the reservations, and they're not worked until after they actually leave the gate.
All right, Kathy, thanks for the call. Appreciate it. I just thought it was an interesting story. And, they're trying to say, hey, Delta, give us our 24K. And I don't think they're going to get their 24.
No.
They might end up with a voucher for a round trip each. But,
if the flight never took off, then maybe they shouldn't get it.
But I mean, so close. I mean, they had the 24 grand in their hand.
They had it spent.
And then there's the boneheaded first officer doesn't show up for the flight.
They're going to buy a new car.
And we would have had $24,000 if it wasn't for you meddling first officer. What a pain in the ass that would be.
Get you a 2005 Lincoln.
24 grand, you can get 10 of them.